Hello, this is Mike Lively, and this is your second assignment on Getting Started with Papervision, Chapter 2. And what I want you guys to do is I want you to make sure you watch the following two videos. And those are already on YouTube, and the one is 3D Language, PV3D book. And go ahead and just record the address and go to it. And the other one is Getting Started with PV3D classes. Make sure you watch that as well, because we're going to skip along here. Those videos have already been done, so we're going to move to the next material. Finally, if you're not familiar with Flash CS4, maybe it's your first time programming Flash, or you need to brush up on classes in Flash, you want to make sure you go ahead and watch this series on my blog. It's professionalpapervision.wordpress.com, 2009/08/15/Flash CS4 course for Papervision3D. And that will tell you everything you need to know about the basics of Flash. I'll go to that site real quick. So here we are on the book's blog, and this particular blog post is CS4 course for Papervision 3D, and you scroll down here, there's just tons of videos. Course introduction, codes and notes, interface, working with variables, working with functions, adding buttons, building an animation engine, display list 1 through 3, looping, conditionals, and getting started with classes. Specifically, you want to make sure you check these two videos out if you're not familiar with classes, because we're going to be talking about Papervision, which is basically built all on classes. And then there's Getting Classes Part 2. Make sure you have that firm foundation before you get started there. So go ahead and watch those videos if you have any problems with that. So upon completing that, there's a few reading assignments. You may go to Chapter 2. Make sure you read about display objects. Read about running Papervision 4 different ways. And read about using Flash and Flex. And now there's been a big change in the way Flex handles Papervision. So in the old days, we used something called raw children. And we don't do that anymore because now Flash Builder has its own visual sprite element. And that's how you bring Papervision into Flash Builder in Design View. So I want to make sure you use that if you're working with Design View. And there are 4 different ways to work with Papervision. And we'll be covering those in the book. And once again, make sure in that reading assignment that you get to go to building classes, because that's where it's all going to happen. And we're going to try to skip over some stuff, let you do the reading, and get to the meat of the topic, and that's building classes and working with Papervision. So let's open the book and get to it. So in Chapter 2, page down to display objects, and read through that. We'll be using this a lot. This is like the powerhouse of Papervision. The 4 different ways of running a Papervision program. Of course, you can run a program in Flash, or you can run a program in Flex, and in Flex you can use an ActionScript package, or you can basically use Design View. And in Flash, once again, you can do the same type of thing where you just are calling from packages or programming on the timeline. One of the shifts you're going to see that I make here in this book is I'm basically going to concentrate on Flex, and you're going to say, why is that? Or Flash Builder now. Is that actually in this process of making this, Flash has actually changed. CS5 is on its way in, and we're all waiting to see what's in that new architecture. So why make a whole set of videos on a technology that's changing so rapidly? And that's been a big issue throughout the entire book writing and Papervision and 3D technology and the web as far as Flash is concerned, is how rapidly the technology has been changing. As soon as you have something written, something changes, and so everyone is kind of scrambling to stay up to speed. And I think the best, safest way right now, and the safest thing right now, is to deal with ActionScript packages and to deal with Design View. As Flash CS5 hits the market, we'll be doing videos on that in the future. So, as I said, once again, we're going to throw out the whole idea of raw child, and we're going to use the visual sprite element, and we've already done some videos on that, so make sure you go back and check those out. But now we're going to actually systematically go through what we need to do to help you get up to speed with Papervision. Of course, everything is object-oriented. If you're going to become a programmer, that's an important name. The great thing about object-oriented is that everything is starting to look the same. And we're going to do a series later on that's going to show you how to become a Java programmer after you became an ActionScript programmer. It's going to wave a magic wand over you and go poof, and now you're a Java programmer. And truly, the languages are looking so similar. There's been times where I just cut and paste ActionScript code into C++ and it runs, no problem. And then Java is so much like ActionScript anyway, so you're going to really be excited to know that by learning this language, you're actually learning multiple languages. And it's very easy to hack things once you get the whole object-oriented idea. And here's the basic idea of what a class is. Once again, go back and watch those videos because I explain this in detail. And what I'm building right here is pretty much a Papervision 3D class. And so once again, you see your package statement. You see your class statement. You see your constructor function. And basically, when you run the class, that's what runs as a constructor function. And if you run this particular program, you'll get a hello world. So let's move on from here. And then I talk about inheritance. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip over this section right here because I'm going to hit inheritance again. But basically, this is what inheritance is. Whenever you write a class, it would be nice if you only had to write it once. But what a lot of people do, and I do it sometimes too, I'm guilty of it, will just write a whole new class. But you can extend the class and add things to it, and that's the whole idea of inheritance. And we'll be hitting that topic quite a bit throughout the book. So go ahead and move on here so we can get the meat of building a Papervision class. Don't need it right now, but we will later. I do a Chinese hello world here, and I show you how to use inheritance, and I talk about it and about encapsulation. We're going to move on from that. Go ahead and read that section. That's your assignment. But let's move on to the meat of the matter here. So we come down to this section of creating methods, and we're going to look at a nice little package here as we build up Papervision. We talk about defining scope. This is very important. Specifically, you'll see us many times working with private and public pretty much means that your references can be accessed from anywhere, and private means that your references are only visible within the same class. So those two things keep in mind, and I'll be explaining that as we move on through the book. And I've talked about that in previous videos as well. And let's move on down. And let's get to Papervision. So here we are in Papervision, and already in the book we've talked about the viewport, the camera, the scene, and the renderer. So go back and review those videos. But you want to, in a sense, import all those classes into Papervision, and then you want to declare variables for those classes. And it's pretty easy. You pretty much just say variable scene, for example, 3D scene, variable camera, 3D camera, variable viewport, 3D viewport, variable render, basic renderer. And we've talked about all that in previous videos. But those four statements, in a sense, are going to be what gets everything moving and running. Once again, I talk about what a class is and how it's defined. It's 6 elements, and we've talked about that in videos. Go back and watch those 2 videos, and you'll get all that information. So now, with all that said, you've paged down to formulating a 3D class. And this is really where we want to start with next time. We're going to start with an example, code example. We're going to go through it step by step and show you how it works. So the last reading assignment is basically start here. And I know that was a lot of material, but once you go through all that, you'll really be ready to hit that portion of the chapter and start building these Papervision classes. After we have this running, we're going to show you a bunch of fun little examples, and then we're going to wrap up Chapter 2 and move to Chapter 3 and not only talk about primitives, but we're going to actually start building some interfaces. So it's going to get very interesting from this point. Thanks for hanging on. This was Mike Lively, and I'll see you next time.